Hello and welcome to my IEFA Essential Understanding digital demonstration. We were asked to identify an IEFA Essential Understanding, explore resources related to our content area, and propose an authentic integration or extension activity that we could possibly do this semester in our placement. This is Catherine Lee Vernon reporting live. So my idea was to create a lesson about parables, allegories, and creation stories, looking at these through literary perspectives. And to make it relevant to IEFA and to incorporate this set of knowledge and values and understanding, which is so important, I wanted to include Native American oral histories. So I'm going to give a brief overview of what the lesson might look at, and then I'll go into the understanding. So I have here parables, allegories, and creation stories, literary perspectives, including Native American oral histories. My lesson meets the following standards: determining point of view or purpose in a text, determine the meaning of words and phrases as they're used, including figurative and connotative meaning, and analyze multiple interpretations of a story, drama, or poem, evaluating how each version interprets the source text. So first I would talk about a parable and its purpose. Our friendly little goat here on the left relates to a Persian parable about a man that taught a goat to agree with him. On the right, we have a tiny mustard seed out of the well-known biblical parable. Then we go into allegory and talk about some of the allegories the students may be familiar with, such as Animal Farm, The Wizard of Oz, and Harry Potter. And then we would go into the role of Native American oral histories. I would certainly make the distinction that Native American oral histories are part of their fundamental identity and belief systems. These aren't myths, they aren't legends, they aren't fairy tales. And these tribes have the right to uphold their histories that predate history as we know it as Americans. So here's a quote here from Bullchild. "We Indians do not have written history like our white friends. Ours is handed down from generation to generation orally. In this way, we have preserved our Indian history and our legends of the beginning of life. All history the native learns by heart and must pass it on to the little ones as they grow up. We natives preserved our history in our minds and handed it down from generation to generation from time unknown orally, from the time human life began." So the essential understanding that I chose is essential understanding 3. The ideologies of Native traditional beliefs and spirituality persist into modern-day life as tribal cultures, traditions, and languages are still practiced by many American Indian people and are incorporated into how tribes govern and manage their affairs. Additionally, each tribe has its own oral histories, which are as valid as written histories. These histories predate the discovery of North America. I chose this particular essential understanding to accompany a lesson on allegories, parables, creation stories, and the significance of the stories we pass down throughout history and within individual families. Our stories are part of our identity, and while many of us may share religious creation stories and know various allegories, fables, and fairy tales, many of our stories are unique to our geographical area or family history and have value worth honoring. The OPI resources I located are at these 2 websites. Well, actually the OPI one is the first one and the second one is non-OPI. And the main thing about these resources is that reliability matters. You want an authentic resource that's going to tell the truth and has been sanctioned by that particular tribe. So the top resources offered through the OPI website. Its title is Montana Tribal Histories, Educator's Resource Guide and Companion DVD. Chapter 1 in particular of this resource is titled Tribal Histories and Narrative, Time Immemorial, Tribal Creation Stories and Traditional Life. It offers several creation stories of different tribes throughout Montana. It also contains photographs and descriptions of tribal values. This resource offers activities for students and facts to emphasize to equitably and accurately represent Montana tribes. Supplemental information specific to those tribes would be needed or valuable in addition to create an appropriate lesson plan. For my non-OPI source, it's this trailtribes.org website here. This website is dedicated specifically to the Blackfeet tribe. I liked the layout of this website and the integrity it represents. It also has links and information about the Blackfeet language and the schools that have been established in fairly recent years to revitalize the language after near extinction. It also has stories, histories, videos, and art. So there's multimedia sources to pull from there. So integration, introducing tribal creation stories and other oral literature in the classroom should be thoughtful and deliberate. As we portray the worldview of other people, we must take care to maintain the cultural integrity of their stories, narratives, and religious beliefs. At times, oral literature and stories are introduced as legends, fairy tales, or myths. Placing this content in such genre can be demeaning and dismissive of the beliefs of others. So, creation stories and oral literature express belief systems, philosophy, cosmology, social values, societal norms, and the predicaments of human beings. Coyote, for example, embodies both the hero and the fool. At times he's greedy and selfish. In many other stories, he uses intelligence and courage to help others. So very symbolic of human nature. I'd like to integrate these stories by looking at fables, allegories, parables, and creation stories as literature, not to demean these works as fiction, but to examine the literary devices used in their telling and to look at them through various critical lenses: historical, cultural, feminist, and authorship. Though in many of these, authorship would be unknown, but that in itself is pretty significant. It would be interesting to compare stories to those from other cultures to find differences, similarities, and what influenced the development of these time-honored traditions. These stories are important because not only do they teach a lesson, they're commonly known among members of a similar primary discourse. The oral histories passed on generationally in Native American culture has just as much gravity on their worldviews as biblical stories have on Christianity, for example. So to relate, or the histories we value shape who we are and how we view others. So the level of integration here I found most appropriate was the transformation approach, which is level 3. It enables students to see concepts from several cultural and ethnic perspectives. It requires the infusion of perspectives, frames of reference, and ideas that will expand students' understanding of an idea. To embrace the transformative approach, teachers, I, must be willing to deconstruct my own existing knowledge, explore alternative perspectives critically, research and include voices and ideas other than those traditionally presented to us, and address my role in perpetuating racism and oppression. I believe this lesson series would accomplish level 3 because one of the main goals is to have students look at oral histories and religious creation stories through various lenses in order to better understand the value systems of different cultures. I also want to impress upon students, again, that the oral histories passed on by Native Americans are not just stories, but are considered historical facts leading to the genesis of their existence as we know it now. In order to fully understand this, an empathetic mind must be created and employed. Ideally, students will have a new understanding and tolerance of cultures different from their own. Proficiency and development. So, how do I do this? Where do I go? Um, at this point, I feel fairly proficient in deciphering what's a credible source and what isn't. OPI is a fantastic resource for its variety and inclusion of Native American tribes. OPI is held to a high level of accountability and integrity. Knowledge, that's another thing that's important to me in my pedagogy regarding IEFA. I would personally like to know more about the tribes of Montana, their culture, and the issues that perpetuate prejudices against them. I'd like to visit a few reservations around Montana and personally experience cultural events beyond the powwow that's held. I realize that IEFA inclusion is mandatory, but I'm not certain how often it should be or if IEFA should be naturally and accurately included when it's relevant or adds meaning to the lesson. Is it just integrated on an everyday sort of level? That's what I want to know. So, thank you very much and have a good day.